There's only one way for things to go right, but there are zillions of ways that things can go wrong. And that's reflected in Deuteronomy chapter 28, where the blessings from obedience are listed in 14 verses. But the consequences of disobedience take 54 verses, because there are so many things that can go wrong in a person's life when you do not do the right thing. The key word is, of course, obedience. Do these things and you will receive the blessings. This was to the nation of Israel, and so they relate to material blessings. In the New Testament, we have instructions to believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, and if we disobey the gospel, then we come under the wrath of God. But the principle remains. There is one way of obedience. There are many ways of disobedience, and many consequences of disobedience. My name's Arthur, and I thank you for joining me as we continue reading from Deuteronomy 28, from verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if you do not obey the voice of the Lord your God, to observe carefully all his commandments and his statutes which I command you today, then all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. Cursed shall you be in the city, and cursed shall you be in the country. Cursed shall be your basket and your kneading bowl. Cursed shall be the fruit of your body and the produce of your land, the increase of your cattle and the offspring of your flocks. Cursed shall you be when you come in, and cursed shall you be when you go out. The Lord will send on you cursing, confusion, and rebuke in all that you set your hand to do, until you are destroyed, and until you perish quickly, because of the wickedness of your doings, in which you have forsaken me. The Lord will make the plague cling to you, until he has consumed you from the land which you are going to possess. The Lord will strike you with consumption, with fever, with inflammation, with severe burning fever, with the sword, with scorching, and with mildew. They shall pursue you until you perish, and your heavens which are over your head shall be bronze, and the earth which is under you shall be iron. The Lord will change the rain of your land to powder and dust. From the heaven it shall come down on you until you are destroyed. Let's pause here and reflect on these verses. The first 4 curses relate to the people and their livestock and their food, so that wherever they are, in the city or within the country, they will be short of food if they disobey the Lord. Their livestock will not produce the way that it should, and they shall suffer themselves. You shall be cursed when you come in and when you go out. So things will go bad for them in every area. This will be the beginning. But after that, when things start to go wrong, then you don't know which way to turn. So he will send on you cursing, confusion, and rebuke in all that you set your hand to do. So many times when I have begun to do something, something goes wrong with it. Not necessarily a very serious problem, but still it doesn't work out quite the way that I envisaged. There's always a problem. And these problems, he says here, will increase until you are destroyed and until you perish quickly because of the wickedness of your doings in which you have forsaken me. It's a consequence of turning away from the Lord, of having independence from him, to think I can do it without being absolutely dependent on him. Of course, our strength always comes from the Lord, but the thing that we do, is that what the Lord wants us to do? Or will he just allow us to do it, that we can get into trouble and realize we should not rely on our own wisdom? There shall be sickness, the plague shall cling to you. There shall be fever, burning fever. Then there is the attack of the enemies with the sword. There is the attack of diseases in their crops, mildew. And the thing that they desired so much will be taken away from them. until you are driven out of the land. And a key part of this is something that the Lord controls absolutely in his own hand: the weather. The heavens above you shall be bronze, and the earth iron underneath you. Drought, no water, and a consequence famine. The Lord will change the rain of your land to powder and dust. When we do things God's way, we're going in his direction. He sends the rain. But when we go against him, he withholds the rain until you are destroyed. We continue at verse 25. The Lord will cause you to be defeated before your enemies. You shall go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them. And you shall become troublesome to all the nations of the earth. Your carcasses shall be food for all the birds of the air and the beasts of the earth, and no one shall frighten them away. The Lord shall strike you with the boils of Egypt, with tumours, with the scab, and with the itch, from which you cannot be healed. The Lord will strike you with madness and blindness and confusion of heart, and you shall grope at noonday, as a blind man gropes in darkness. You shall not prosper in your ways. You shall be only oppressed and plundered continually, and no one shall save you. The remarkable thing, of course, is that God has preserved the nation of Israel alive, yet they have suffered at the hands of the nations continually over the centuries. Before they were driven out of their land, their enemies attacked them when they turned away from the Lord. In the times of the judges, in the times of the kings, and in the time of the great kingdoms, the Babylonian, the Persian, the Greek, and the Roman kingdom, they were oppressed as armies came against them, and problems kept coming up, arising against them, and no one was there to save them, and yet the Lord preserved their remnant. And since that time, they have suffered in one place and fled to another, suffered there and fled to another. The history of the Jewish people is an incredible story of deprivation, of hardship, of exploitation, and yet God has maintained them. This relates to the political situation that they will be in, fleeing continually from their enemies. Verse 30 continues, You shall betroth a wife, but another man shall lie with her. You shall build a house, but you shall not dwell in it. You shall plant a vineyard, but shall not gather its grapes. Your ox shall be slaughtered before your eyes, but you shall not eat of it. Your donkey shall be violently taken away from you, and shall not be restored to you. Your sheep will be given to your enemies, and you shall have no one to rescue them. Your sons and your daughters shall be given to another people, and your eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all day long. And there shall be no strength in your hand. A nation whom you have not known shall eat the fruit of your land and the produce of your labour, and you shall be only oppressed and crushed continually. So you shall be driven mad because of the sight which your eyes see. The Lord will strike you in the knees and on the legs with severe boils which cannot be healed, and from the sole of your foot to the top of your head. If a person just dies, then their life is over. But if they don't die, they are just deprived, and everything that they attempt with great hope and anticipation, it is dashed before them. That is great grief. The nation of Israel has experienced this grief time and time again, as their enemies have plundered them, as their sons and daughters have been destroyed by their enemies. But the nation itself has not been destroyed, so that there is always a remnant that sees and mourns these things. Others enjoy the fruit of their labour. For God has indeed blessed the nations through what the Israelites have done over the centuries. They have done incredible good to societies, and yet they continually get targeted. So you shall be driven mad because of the sight of what your eyes see. There seems to be no healing for them. There is only one who can save them when they turn back to walk in the ways of the Lord. The Lord.